I am in Liberia to accompany Ms. Florisha Perisha, the Human Resources Officer at the Staffing, Diversity, and Outreach session of the United Nations, based in New York. We've come to Liberia in furtherance of the vision and desire of two leaders within our global community. His Excellency Dr. George Manenwia, President of the Republic of Liberia, as I indicated in his quest to see more Liberians employed within the United Nations system around the world, made sure that one of his 3 talking points for bilateral meeting with the United Nations Secretary General, His Excellency Antonio Guterres, last year in September during the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly, and in particular the high-level week, and also this year during the high-level week of the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly, to be precise, like this year on the 26th of September. As I indicated, His Excellency met with the Secretary General of the UN, and one of the 3 talking points was the creation of employment opportunities for Liberians within the UN system. In furtherance of that desire, that vision, it then, for us as a permanent mission of Liberia to the United Nations, for me as Liberia's permanent representative to the United Nations, it became a matter of policy for us in New York at the permanent mission. And we embarked upon ensuring that the vision of His Excellency President Weah is actualized, is materialized. And we embarked on constructive engagement and seeking partnership within the UN system in relation to that. Also, as I stated, our being here for this purpose is in line with what I considered a dual vision, or vision of dual. The United Nations Secretary General, as part of his reform agenda, has very deep interest as it relates to employment opportunities for countries, not just Liberia, but countries that are underrepresented within the UN system. He has, as Secretary General of the UN, the deepest of passion, just as His Excellency President Weah, to see that there is diversity within the staffing base of the United Nations, and in this particular case, the United Nations Secretariat. And it is to the extent that the Secretary General developed a strategy for this purpose, 2019 to 2021 strategy that will address the issue of diversity. It is in line with that the permanent mission of the Republic of Liberia to the United Nations is partnering with the staffing, diversity, and outreach session of the United Nations and the United Nations in general to ensure that this vision of creating more opportunities for employment for Liberians within the UN system comes to reality. And it is against that background that Miss Florisha Berisha is in Liberia. Miss Berisha arrived in Liberia on yesterday at 2 p.m. Yesterday, Sunday, November 24th, 2019 at 2 p.m. As you can see, we are here at Boulevard Palace in the conference room, Boulevard Palace in Monrovia, where Ms. Berisha is physically present, and you will be hearing from her in depth as to the purpose of her arrival, or the purpose for her arrival in Liberia. I am very much pleased as Liberia's ambassador to the United Nations for the level of interest and support being demonstrated by His Excellency President Weah and the government of Liberia towards the successful outreach mission of Ms. Berisha, who has been accompanied by me, your ambassador to the UN. Upon her arrival, the government of Liberia tendered a welcome dinner in her honor last evening here at the Boulevard Palace. A dinner that was well attended by those ministers of the government that are associated with work-related activities. The ministers of State for Presidential Affairs, the Honorable Minister Nathaniel Fallow Magay, the Honorable Samuel D. Tuer Jr., Minister of Finance and Development Planning, the Honorable Professor Ansu Soni, Minister of Education, the Honorable Moses Colley, Minister of Labor, the Honorable Wilhelmina Pisota, Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Honorable Johnson, Director General of the Civil Service Agency, the Honorable Senator Komene Wise of River G County and co-chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee at the Senate, and of course, last but not the least, the Honorable Mawene Dix, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs for Administration, who was at the event or at the dinner in her capacity currently as Acting Minister of Foreign Affairs. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Besonga Milton Finlay is currently out of the country. And they were joined by the focal points from the government as it relates to this exercise. So you can see that the government is very much supportive of this endeavor. Ms. Berisha will speak in details regarding her own impression. But on today, Monday, or last night, Ms. Berisha was able to give an insight to the officials of the government as it relates to her visit. It is important to add that also in that meeting or at the welcome dinner were Dr. Barnett, the UNFPA country representative in Liberia, and who is the AI resident coordinator, meaning the acting resident coordinator, or the resident coordinator ad interim, as the acting resident coordinator, Kingsley, is currently in Freetown attending a meeting that has to do with the Mano River Union. Also at the program or at the dinner was Dr. Khalidi, a consultant of UNFPA who is in country at the moment. It was an interactive forum or evening, and I'm very impressed by what I saw from the government end as well as from the UN cycle, including but not limited to Ms. Berisha. Her boss, Chris, told me during my meeting with them that when it comes to this exercise and her line of duty, she is her best, our best in the UN system. And that is being proven to me beyond all reasonable doubts. On today, we will continue meetings right after this media-related activity. Ms. Berisha and myself will proceed at the UN office, the One UN House in Monrovia, where we will have a meeting with the United Nations country team led by Dr. Barnett, the resident coordinator ad interim. And following that meeting, we will head to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Ministers' Conference Room, where we will be meeting with the presidents and heads of the different universities within the Republic of Liberia. And following that meeting, we will be meeting with the civil society organizations, the female professional organizations, including but not limited to the Association of Female Journalists of Liberia, the Association of Female Lawyers of Liberia, the Federation of Liberian Youth, the Liberian National Student Union, the Liberian Business Association, Patel, the disabled community, the Press Union of Liberia, the Liberian National Bar Association, and all other professional organizations. We will be meeting with their representatives. And following that meeting, we will be meeting with the Civil Service Agency, the Director General Johnson, and her deputies. That is the lineup for today's activities, and after those meetings, I will head to the state-owned broadcaster, ELBS, to appear on the bumper show at 5 p.m. Beyond today, at the core of our trip here is tomorrow, which has to do with the public, the Liberian people. The meetings will take place, or the presentations by Ms. Berisha will take place at the new ministerial complex in Congotown on Tuesday, tomorrow, November 26th, and Wednesday, November 27th. The activities for those 2 days will begin at 7:30 in the morning. 7:30 in the morning, we will begin with breakfast. Breakfast for all of our participants, our professionals, who have interest in taking up assignments, within the UN system. And the breakfast will run from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. And following the breakfast, we will then move into beginning the session. From 8:30 a.m. to 9 o'clock a.m. will be a period of remarks, declaring the process formally open. And at 9 a.m., the actual presentation by Ms. Berisha will begin. The same schedule applies for Wednesday, November 27th. And so this process is open to all Liberians irrespective of political affiliation, religious, ethnic, and or political or social, rather, and economic status. It is important to make this point that we are in Liberia for all Liberians who have the professional competences and skills to seize these opportunities of working within the UN system. It is absolutely free of charge. There is not a Liberian cent that is charged or will be charged to any Liberian attending these sessions, and even after these sessions that may desire to move to the next step in terms of applying for vacant positions within the UN Secretariat. There is no 1 cent that is required. Even after Ms. Berisha and myself should have left Liberia, no 1 cent. It is absolutely free of charge. Anything, whether in kind or in monetary terms. This is clear, and this is a mandate from the United Nations and also from His Excellency President Weah, that this opportunity is for all Liberians. So it is important that you get that. We will also have similar section on tomorrow at 4 p.m. with all of the Liberians working within the United Nations system. We will have that at the Monrovia City Hall. In furtherance of our openness and transparency, the Liberian media or the press, whether national, local, or international, you are invited to all of our meetings today and all of the presentations tomorrow and day after. The media is free absolutely to follow us throughout the process so that they get to know and see for themselves that we are here and here for this purpose as it is. We will continue to do our best even after Ms. Berisha and myself shall have returned to New York. We will continue as your ambassador and as permanent mission of the Republic of Liberia to work with the UN here in Liberia and with our government as a follow-up as it relates to making this dream of His Excellency President Weah and His Excellency UN Secretary General Guterres comes to reality. Ms. Berisha and myself have not come to Liberia to say we are doing jobs distribution. We've come to create awareness of the processes which you were explained, and it is left with all Liberians who think and feel they are qualified, which I know that we have a lot of qualified Liberians, competent Liberians, to take advantage of the opportunity and go through the processes. When you go through successfully and you follow the lead, the tips, we are assured, I'm convinced that you will be successful. But we've not come to say, yeah, job, this is job, These are positions and all of that. It is important. So the awareness we create should give the tips which you will explain, and then it be left with you to follow up.
Thank you, Ambassador. That is correct. So the purpose of my visit, along with His Excellency Ambassador D. Maxwell Kemaya, is to raise awareness amongst the nationals of Liberia about job and career opportunities with the United Nations Secretariat. It has been a very fruitful cooperation with the ambassador and his team from the start of our meeting in New York, acknowledging the need to have more nationals of Liberia within their organization. Actually, our organization strives to have a diverse workforce that is geographically balanced, gender balanced, international, multi-talented, that represents of and benefits of the member states of the organization. As you know, there are 193 member states in the organization. Some of the member states are not sufficiently represented in the organization, and Liberia is one of the countries that is underrepresented. Supporting the vision of the Secretary General and implementing his vision, this is an effort to raise awareness amongst the nationals of Liberia. That's the reason that we have partnered with the permanent mission and also through the ambassador with the cabinet ministers. I was delighted and honored to see that the government of Liberia is so supportive of this initiative, and they are interested to encourage Liberians to apply for jobs with the United Nations and to be successful throughout the competitive process. So the purpose of the event on 26 and 27 is to familiarize all the Liberian nationals who are interested to apply for jobs with the Secretariat. What are the programs? What are the staff categories? What is the recruitment process? What are the requirements? How can they identify the positions that they aspire and where their strengths are? Where are our platforms, recruitment platforms? How to apply, how to fill the application, how to prepare for a competency-based interview, which is one of the requirements in our processes. So we'll try to share all this information in person with the participants in the events. We have already discussed these aspects yesterday in the meeting with the cabinet ministers, and there is clarity from the government side on the purpose of the visit. So we encourage the nationals of Liberia who are for sure talented and qualified to join the event, because they will hear more about how to be successful in the process. In addition, Liberia is also a true contributing country, and this is another consideration that adds to the fact that Liberia is underrepresented with the organization. In recognition of both these two factors, Liberians who will apply and are successful in the recruitment process will have good chances to be selected and take up positions. Of course, it's a competitive process, and we are sure that there are many talented Liberians that will walk through the process. The information is available online, but through our awareness raising, we believe that we support the Liberians, nationals of Liberia, to know how to focus better their search, to identify their own strengths and be able to present them in the process. So I'm looking forward to this event and meeting as many nationals of Liberia as possible and sharing with them the knowledge. My office is interested and committed to support all the member states. This time is the nationals of Liberia, the member state of Liberia. We rely on the partnership. We cannot do it alone, but we rely on the partnership with the permanent mission and ambassador himself, as well as cabinet ministers. So you have all the support all the way through. One thing is clear, I believe, to nationals of Liberia, for these jobs, all you need is just to take the courage and apply. No permissions are needed. It's your own voluntary commitment and interest. If you are interested, the websites are there, and the opportunities are very broad and they are very available. If you come tomorrow, you'll hear more about the presentation, during the presentation, about all the steps and all the career opportunities, along with an overview of the UN Secretariat and the UN system, or as we call it, the UN or United Nations family. So hope to see you tomorrow, all of you, or as many as possible, and share the knowledge with you. We have a program in the Secretariat that is dedicated to young professionals. Every year, the organizations, through a workforce planning, determines which areas of expertise we need in the organization. And this program is dedicated only to the countries or member states that are or underrepresented. And Liberia is one of them. So all you need is university degree, bachelor university degree, first level university degree completed, and you need to be under the age of 32 at the time when the exam is taken. So the exam is solicited or is organized through a job opening that is published on our career portal, careers.un.org. More information is also on the career portal, and I'll provide more information also tomorrow in the presentation. Applicants of un- and underrepresented countries are the only ones that are eligible to apply. And then once there is a short listing, whether the requirements are met, the nationals are invited for a written assessment and a competency-based interview, and the successful ones will have the opportunity to be placed in different parts of the organization at the what we call P2 level, professional 2 level. It's one of the great opportunities that is limited only to countries that are un- and underrepresented. I understand some of the young professionals have already participated in the exam this year. The job opening was advertised in June, and the process is ongoing, and most likely soon they will be convoked for the written assessment. Now, as Ambassador pointed, and thank you, Ambassador, gender balance, and I mentioned a bit earlier, is one, or gender parity is one of the key strategies of our Secretary General and our organization. We want to attract as many qualified women as possible to join our workforce. And especially right now in field missions, in peace operations, we have a gap. Only 30% of the workforce is women and 70% is men. Also in headquarter locations like in New York or Geneva or any other, Nairobi, we still have a gap, maybe not as big as in peace operations. However, the senior we go into the levels, the gap keeps becoming bigger. So we would want to have qualified, to attract qualified women across the globe, but especially here in Liberia. I'm making this call for qualified women at all ages and categories and levels to apply for positions with the Secretariat. It's an opportunity, since our organization wants to achieve gender parity by 2028. It's a long-term strategy. Things do not happen overnight, but we are working on all fronts to ensure that the vision of our Secretary General is on the way to be achieved. So these are pretty much the priorities right now with the organization in order to have a diverse workforce and make sure that all member states have their nationals represented in the as international civil servants of the organization, be internationally recruited with the organization, serving wherever the organization serves the people. So that's our purpose. As an organization, we serve the peoples of the world.